Okay, everyone, welcome to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have another cool update for you guys from the brand Wolbrook watches. They're originally founded back in the US in 1949, and they're a legacy brand revival, along with their sister brand Douglas Watches. They're now a member of France Horology, the professional union of French watchmakers, and sister brand to HGP. They offer watches proudly assembled and QC'd in France. This is a dive watch, some key characteristics and design. When you're looking for a diver, of course, you're going to find water resistance, typically paired to some type of screw-down crown. Or want something that's tough, legible with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. This is their Skindiver 38 Jumbo Arctic, and it's a new take on their signature Skindiver, paying homage to vintage models from their back catalog, featuring their modern hexaplex case architecture, which essentially places rubber shock absorbers around the metal movement holder. This goes for $549 as configured on the rubber tropic style strap, and this was kindly lent in by Wolbrook for the purpose of this review. Now, this does differ from their other Skindiver model. It's slightly sized down and reproportioned, and also upgraded with a higher beat Miyota movement in the Miyota 9039. So with all that said, let's go ahead and zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay guys, as you can see, definitely very clear Skindiver vibes, but of course some nice upgrades in terms of contemporary styling, the colorway, the pop of red. I think it looks really great, and also you'll notice this bezel is actually black PVD. So instead of having a colored insert, the entire bezel is solid, and it does have a nice action. Ooh, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about, ooh, yes, it's that good. All right, let's talk about the dimensions. 37 millimeter diameter, that's at the case. At the bezel, it's going to be about 37.8. So that's why they market this as a 38 millimeter. 12 millimeters thick, 46 millimeters lug to lug, stainless steel, fully brushed. You have a box sapphire with an inner anti-reflective coating. And then getting back to this, 120 clicks, unidirectional, black PVD bezel, beautiful coin edge grip there for fantastic tactile engagement, wonderful acoustics. I'd say maybe, I mean, it's not really back play, it's more just rock. Like you can rock it a bit, but it's it sits on the click, which I can appreciate. Yes. Ooh, nice. Okay. Calm down. All right, guys. So check out the screw down crown, nicely signed. Of course, it's a W, so winning. All right, the movement inside, although you can't see it behind this very nice decorative case back, as you guys can see there, is actually your Miyota 9039 no date movement. So 42-hour power reserve beats at 4 hertz or 28,800 vibrations per hour in terms of that beat rate, and then it's accurate to plus or minus 15 seconds per day thanks to in-house tuning. Now the case back, like I mentioned, solid and etched. The dial is matte white, with a printed index, glossy black hands, Superluminova BGW9. And as you can see here, another nice difference is going to be that you get 20 atmospheres of water resistance, or 200 meters. You get 20 millimeter lug width, which does carry over from the other model. And you have it on this 20 millimeter vulcanized strap, which is very, very nice, very clean. And hey, while we're at it, when I'm speaking about the differences, still have this on hand. So nice to be able to show them right next to each other. I think visually, this one, of course, is smaller. And this feels more like more of a modern kind of, I mean, obviously, I think it's still very classic, but the size feels a bit more modern versus here feels a bit more true to form. And they, you know, it's a bit of a remix. It's slightly different layout, slightly, I mean, in the handset there, kind of reversed there on the arrow tips. And of course, you're going to have 150 versus 200. So in terms of the water resistance, I think they're both fantastic. I wish I could have seen this on some of the new bracelet options, but I will say this black tropic definitely sets it off and gives it a very, very versatile vibe. I do like the blue, kind of a slightly larger variation as well at 39 millimeters, but I will say with the more expansive dial, the proportions here, the dial proportions are a bit more dialed in, pun intended. So I do like that a whole lot. Look at that nice thin case profile, drilled lugs. I mean, this thing has it all. Also, taper down to 4mm taper down to about 16 at this nicely fully milled and nicely signed buckle there. That pin buckle, quite nice. 2 floating keepers here. And with that said, let's actually get it on the wrist and see how it wears. Okay, as you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, or 19 centimeter in circumference wrist, it looks quite good. Of course, if I get my wrist a bit too close to the camera lens, it's going to make the watch seem slightly larger because the sides of my wrist will be falling away, and thus the sides of the brace, or in this case, the strap. And you can see if I keep my wrist nice and low here, all of a sudden it looks way more centered and, you know, hey, ultimately better fitting, and maybe for some even slightly small. But what I'll do is I'll tighten up the frame here so that you guys can get still a detailed look, but just add a bit of a true aspect ratio as to how this may lay on your own wrist, and check that out. Looks good. Nice and thin. Great curvature there for a nice organic natural drape on the wrist. I do like the high contrast dial, the choice of the gloss black there to really make everything pop. It's good looking. It's very, very balanced, and I feel like the other variation, the previous one that I showcased, it's still well balanced, but this one is, there's just an extra level of refinement, which I can absolutely appreciate. It's like Black Bay 58 versus Black Bay 54 from Tudor, right? Like, there's just something about that smaller model and some of the really nuanced tweaks in terms of the dial to bezel ratio, in terms of the shape of the lugs, and you know, just the overall proportions. There's something that is very, very seductive about this one. It just fits the wrist really well. Nice and thin, and again, it's not just a one-trick pony. This isn't just some watch that was made to be thin. It's not, oh, this is a super thin dial. It's just a watch that happens to be pretty thin, happens to also look pretty darn good. And with that 20mm lug width, you know, even though it has a smaller case size, it's going to be very, very wearable and very, very versatile. So with that said, we'll get it off the wrist, set up for some Lume shots, the light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Yes, quite potent. Very, very legible, outstanding orientation, right? Since you do have the loomed numerals at the 12 and the 6. So quite nice. And look at that nice lollipop on the second hand. So you know that your watch is still running even when you're in complete darkness. One thing I always like to work in is going to be a bit of a low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So it is nice with these colors, textures, and finishes render-like and less than optimal lighting. And as you guys can see, guys, regardless here of where the lighting is, this is extremely legible because of those blackened accents there. So very nice. It's really hard to argue with something like this. Even like, look at that, just like barely any light, no light. It's just, it works. It just looks good, reads well, and it's quite handsome. So we'll go ahead and get the lights back on over here. Boom. Okay, closing thoughts, guys. On the wrist, classic Skindiver wear profile with a modern feeling twist. Now, in terms of model variants, do check the site links for current options and availability. And then in terms of comparable models, guys, although the specs aren't exactly class leading at the price point, the combination of value and design are still quite competitive. Bottom line for me, guys, Wolbrook Skindiver hits a real sweet spot representing both value and iconic design. I like that they, you know, although they clearly are vintage inspired, they do make an effort to upgrade and modernize without overdoing anything. And that's, you know, pretty much carryover from the last variation that I did. This one is, I think, a bit tidier, of course, and slightly better proportioned, although the previous variation I think is very good. I definitely would love to see this on some of their newer bracelet options. So Wolbrook, if you're watching, hook a brother up. All right, with that said, let me know what you guys think. If you like the video, please do like, and if you're already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.